Recording in progress.
Scroll all the way to the bottom. So you sort of you're doing chapter profile. And then the 3 lines up right here. Same settings. And then towards the bottom there, you have a scroll all the way to the bottom. If this says switch to personal account, that means you have a professional account branded. Same as the business account. Sometimes the story music doesn't work for a business or professional account. So if it says here switch to personal account, we want to tell that button and switch back to personal account. That might help you get on your way to use it to personal. The last thing that you can do is you can also rewrite it to say here, and then you got general. Sorry. And then we can just write it through this list. This is a really easy way to, it doesn't wait any of your data, messages, or anything. But it kind of resets all the courses and files that you put in Instagram, etc. So this is a good way to kind of fix it. So that's not any questions. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks. Now working. Training. Information sales. So these are my favorite settings right here. Ads, you're writing emails, you're writing applications, webinars, your sales letters, sales letters. Absolutely free. Now, this is for anyone who wants to talk about funnels. Whether you sell pages, you sell this video the first account. You have a professional account. Sometimes the story music doesn't work for business or professional.
Good, you guys around?
Hey, Tommy, so I was trying to search up why we can't just put any type of song on the Instagram stories, but then I saw that it's because we have a creator account instead of a personal account. So if I would have to change it to a personal account, it says it will take out all the insights and also anything that we promoted on the Instagram. But it's up to you if you want me to do that. If not, I'll just keep it as a creator and I just end up finding whatever song there is. It's just that we can't pick any specific song that we might want to put on our stories. Instagram stories, and I saw that we have a creator account instead of a personal account. So if I would have to change it to a personal account, it says it will pick up the insights.
Hey,
You ready?
never been more ready for anything in my life. And let's see.
To me, the man named Mr. Student, who's a sword maker.
So what do
Hey, what's up, Rick? Yes, I am. I'm putting training right now. I'm putting training right now. Yeah. Yeah.
we're going to go over today is we're going to go over proactively handling rebuttals.
Thank you. Sure.
So how to beat the rebuttal before it ever happens. And beating it or handling it, either way, we want to address it. Because if we don't address it up front, then we're not going to have anywhere to go back to reference. So we're going to start out with the 3 steps to
To me, they're strokes, and I'm like writing with it. almost like writing poetry with the movements. So for you to be a sword maker who makes swords, where it's about singing and creating a dance and creativity, there's a sword user on the other end who wants to do the same thing in his moves. So I feel like we're aligned in a certain way.
今天也非常荣幸能碰到一个西方来的，到我这里来，跟咱们有共鸣的一个朋友，也非常感到荣幸。
A rebuttal.
这个就是把它错得很平，就注意这儿，小心别划到这儿。
Careful because you cut yourself on that. Yeah.
慢点。试一下。
I'll tell you a story. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, my father used to go and do martial arts demonstrations. He would cut fruit out of their hands. And we were all in the car driving back home. Somehow the sword came out of the case and it slit my wrist. And because I have this scar, it reminds me of life and death. But because of this, I don't fear life or death. So every time I raise a sword, I see this and I have no fear. And it took a sword to teach me that lesson about life. That's my
这是
favorite.
一个宝贵的一个财富，一个经历。找先慢慢的找这个感觉，要找这哎，它贴平了就好了。
All right, thank you.
And that it's about the process.
So the first step to handling the rebuttal is proactively. We have to beat that in our presentation up front before we ever get it at the end. The second step, so number one is proactively handle it, step number one. And I'll give us examples and we'll go into that. Step number two now is when you get the rebuttal, you have to handle it with understanding. You have to listen to what they say, and they have to know that you heard them. And feel, felt, found is a good method that comes to mind on this. So step two is basically agreeing. Step two is agree. The second part, when they give you the rebuttal, just agree with them. Listen to what they got to say. Don't argue with them. Don't start saying, no, 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 no. The worst thing you could do is just disagree with them. In fact, and it goes again, even if you should disagree with them. The guy's sitting there telling you like, well, I can't afford this. And you're sitting there like, oh yeah, I agree with you. I can understand where you're coming from. Meanwhile, you don't really agree with them and you don't understand what they're talking about right now, because I could see all the money that they spend on a whole bunch of other stuff. So point of it is, step two is always agree. Now that comes from a book, Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold. Write it down, Adolfo. Everything I say you should write. I'm not giving you this book for no reason. I read it a bunch of times. Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. He says the number one role in selling is always agree with the client. So that's step number 2, agree with them. And the more that you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And then step number 3, okay, is you go back to where you already beat the rebuttal and you go over that with them. And then if you want to add step 4, assume the sell. So step number 1, beat the rebuttal up front. Step number 2, agree. Step number 3, go back to where you beat the rebuttal and remind them of that, and then assume the sale. So for example, we're in the presentation, and at the beginning, you have to explain to them why you're there. So does everybody know how to explain to the client why we are there? Right? What's the reason why we're there? Well, the reason that I'm here is that your president, John Smith, contracted through our company to make sure that all the members have guaranteed permanent benefits. You see, the problem is, Joe and Mary, is that all the members typically have benefits. When you work for a company, you typically, most companies typically give their employees benefits, right? Now, Joe, if you work for a company and you have benefits through your company, what typically happens to those benefits if you ever leave that company? Let's say you quit, get fired, or retire. What typically happens to those benefits, Joe? That's right, they go away. So, and here's the key thing in this section, guys, I'm just gonna make sure you guys know, it's very important for you to not tell the client this. I think it's important for the client to tell you this. So I can say, Adolfo, when you quit, get fired, or retire, you know you lose all of your benefits through work. That was one of the biggest problems and concerns. People that when they work for a company, they get benefits. But when you leave that company, they lose all their benefits, and that was a big problem. I told him that. You see how I just told him that? That's not as effective as him telling me. So I say, Adolfo, one of the problems that they have is workplace benefits. See, most companies provide benefits to their employees. But what typically happens to those benefits if you ever leave that company? Let's say you quit, you get fired, or retire. What typically happens to the benefits then? They go away, right? So that was one of the biggest problems and one of the major concerns that they have. And that's why your president contracts through us to make sure that all the members have guaranteed permanent life benefits. So I'll make sure I go over that with you today and with our time. This is your service period. This is your enrollment period. So if you have any questions while we're out here today, I'll make sure I get them answered. But most importantly, if these benefits do make sense, we have to make sure that we get you enrolled into these benefits, and we'll get your paperwork taken care of as well, so you have your permanent life benefits. Does that make sense, Joe? Does that make sense, Mary? So you really want to hammer that home at the beginning of the presentation, okay? Because at the end, let's go through an example of what I just went over with you guys now, okay? So at the end, you go through everything and they're like, Edgar, everything sounds good, makes sense, I like you, but right now, I just don't need these because I already have stuff through work. So like this would be great, but our work got us set up with some nice work coverage. What would you guys do? Well, first of all, did we do step number 1? Because step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, they all don't matter unless we do step number 1 first. So first of all, you got to ask yourself, they're hitting me with this rebuttal right now. Did I do step 1? Did we? Yes, right? We did it effectively because we had them tell us, like, so step number 1 is done. So what do we do next, guys? What's step 2?
Understand it.
Understanding, right? Agreeing with them, nodding your head, Oh, I understand where you're coming from. Definitely, I agree. Because I'm not going to disagree with them. They do have coverage through work. I agree with you. You do have some coverage through work. However, and this is where you go to step number 3, right? However, if you could remember back when we went over the reason why we're here today, and the reason why your president, John Smith, and all the other presidents, they contract through us, the main reason for that, Joe, is because we have workplace benefits. That's actually the reason why we're here today. That's the reason why they set this up. If you can remember, the problem and concern was that everybody has workplace benefits, but the problem and concern, like you told me, was what happens to those whenever you leave? Like quit, get fired, and when we retire, like you said, Joe, what typically happens is they go away. So that was one of the biggest problems and concerns. So, what we'll do today, Joe, is what we need to do. We need to make sure we get your foot in the door with the permanent benefits. That way your family doesn't have to worry about this. So what we're going to do, we'll make sure we get you set up with your basic, with your permanent benefits. And we'll make sure we keep it comfortable for you at the same time. Does that make sense for you? Okay, great. And then you could go into the app. So do you guys see how we basically just did those 4 steps right there, right? Step number 1 was handled because we did that proactively. That was built into your presentation. Step number 2 is easy. That's where you just just let them talk. Let them talk. Let them get it all out. Don't interrupt them. Don't cut them off. Don't tell them they're wrong. Don't disagree with them. Don't argue with them. Don't say no. Oh, okay, sure. I can understand where you're coming from. I understand how you feel. Most of my clients felt the same way. But what they found is that what they found is that they needed something permanent for their family. And you use the feel, felt, found method. That's an easy way to always reflect back on any sales situation. I understand how you feel. All of my best clients felt that same way at some point as well. But what they found is, boom. So you hit them with a feel, felt, found. You can say this. Here's the best thing to say. I agree with you. Try that one. It's so easy. I agree with you. Makes sense. I agree. Makes sense. I understand where you're coming from. Just let them get it out. That's step number 1. Step 2, after they give it to you, step number 2. Step number 3 now is after you say that, say, however, if you could remember back when we were going over this part, how they set it up this way, how we went over this, how important it, and you go back to that. So what we need to do is we just need to make sure that we get your foot in the door, but we keep it comfortable at the same time. Does that make sense to you, Joe? Now, and then if you want to slam dunk it, here you go. Ready? If I could ask you, Joe, one question. If I could ask you, what's the most important thing in the world to you? If you could just say, what's number 1? Family? And if I had to ask you, what would you say your family would be worth to you if we had to put a price tag on our family? They're priceless, right? Priceless. Well, fortunately, I go like this. We can't put a price tag on protecting our family. Or I'm sorry. We can't put a price tag on our family. That's what you want to say. You can't put a price tag on your family. But fortunately, they were able to put a price tag on protecting our family. So, Joe, what's the most important thing in the world to you? Family? Yeah. Well, if you had to put a price tag on your family, let me ask you, what would you say your family's worth to you? Priceless? Yeah. I mean, you can't put a price tag on your family. Well, but fortunately for us, they were able to put a price tag on protecting our family, which is just $137 a month, which is like $30 a week, which is less than a cable and a cell phone bill. I don't even know if you could go to Starbucks for that. But if I had to ask you a question, Joe, when do you think the most important time to start protecting your family is? When do you think that should be? Immediately, yeah. Probably yesterday, right? So like I said, what we'll do for you today, we'll make sure we get your foot in the door, but we'll make sure we keep it comfortable for you guys at the same time, okay? You're allowed to say that 6 times to them. What we're going to do today is we'll make sure we get your foot in the door with the benefits to protect your family, but we need to make sure we keep it comfortable for you at the same time. Here's something that they told me. They said, these benefits are not designed to cause a financial burden on your family, right? But we cannot have the lack of having these benefits cause a bigger financial burden on your family either. So what we'll do today is we'll make sure neither one of those happen. Because Joe, let's face it, right now, if something, I mean, there's a problem. If God forbid something happened to you tomorrow, because everybody that goes to bed tonight isn't going to wake up tomorrow. Everybody that goes to work today is not guaranteed to come home. Everyone who goes to sleep tonight is not guaranteed to wake up in the morning. So God forbid something were to happen, there would be a major problem financially for your family. So what I can do today is whenever I take off here today, I'll make sure I take this problem with me. So that's just some stuff on some closing if you want to, just put that little extra stuff into there. But that's the step. That's the steps to handling a rebuttal. Okay, I don't want you to get cut at the end of a presentation and they say, I want to think about it, or I can't afford it, or I don't need this. And you just start going from just random lists. It's like being in a fight and you're just throwing random haymakers. I mean, let's have a little bit of form to this thing, okay? There's some, some steps you can take to slow it down. You don't have to jump down their throat when they start giving you rebuttal. Slow down, let them get it out, reflect on it, and then listen. You already handled it. You already beat the rebuttal, so what's the big deal? They just forgot. So you just got to remind them, hey, silly, I know you think you want to think about it, but if you remember, we already went over how you can't think about it. Remember when I went over that with you? So what we'll do today is we'll make sure we get your foot in the door. We'll keep your benefit, keep it comfortable at the same time. So I'm going to go over with you the 3 areas that you're going to get rebuttaled, and I get them. Everybody gets them. Don't matter who you are, the best of the best are going to get these rebuttals, okay? It's how you handle those rebuttals that makes the difference, okay? And the biggest way that the top people in this company handle the rebuttals, they are the best at handling all rebuttals as proactively as possible, because they don't even want to get a rebuttal. That's the key. You don't even want to get them. And if you do get them, no problemo. I already handled it, and I already know the 4 steps to handling a rebuttal. So give me all the rebuttals you want. I'll 4-step you all day. Give me this one, I'll 4-step it, I'll 4-step it, I'll keep 4-stepping you. And it's a machine. Just keep going back and forth. So I'm cool if they give them to me, but I don't want to get them. Why do I not want to get them? Psychology behind this. What's the psychology behind a rebuttal? When someone gives you a rebuttal, they speak life into it. If he says, he's sitting there with his wife, and it's a husband, and he tells me, hey, Tommy, I can't afford this right now. Well, guess what he just said in front of his wife? He told me he couldn't afford something. So he's going to be trying all he can to prove that he's right. He don't want to be wrong in front of his wife. He just said it out loud. He can't afford it. So now he's going to be trying to prove that he really can't afford it. He's trying to prove to, he gave it life. So I don't even want that even birthed. I don't even want that thought even flowing into the universe. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him putting that out there. So I want to handle it as more proactively as possible. If he says, I need to think about it, I want to think about it. Now he's going to be trying to prove to you, prove to his wife, how, listen, we can't make a decision today. We really do need to think about this because he said it. So we don't want him to say those things. Does that make sense, guys? If we could avoid, so we proactively handle as much as possible. But then when we do get these rebuttals, it's not even if, but when, because you're going to get them. You give 10 presentations a week. I'll tell you, I went 10 for 10 the last time I was in the field, and I got rebutted 50 times. I got told no an average of 5 times per home, but I sold every one of them. Some of them told me no 6 or 7 times. One guy told me no 7 times, and then I finally got him to agree for $60 a month, okay? And then I realized I had non-tobacco rates, or I had tobacco rates, and he was I had non-tobacco rates, and he was a tobacco user. So then I had to go in there, and I was like, wait a minute, you're a smoker? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh boy, I was arguing with him for $60. Now it's gonna go up to 74. He's going to think I'm trying to scam him. He's going to try and think so. So I like sit there like, hey, I kind of didn't push a button over here. Just want you to, I put the non-tobacco. He's like, well, what's that going to do? I'm like, well, it's going to, instead of 60, it's like 72 now, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I knew it, you know? So now I just sit there, oh boy, you thought that I was another 5 rebuttals in. I think it was 12 rebuttals this guy took me to get this check off of him. You know, I think the only reason he gave me a check is because my aunt worked at Mancini's Bakery, and he used to work at Mancini's Bakery, and that was the only thing that saved me, and he knew who she was. You know? So it's like, I mean, literally, I would have been 9 for 10 that week. Sometimes to go 10 for 10, you're going to need a couple miracles out there. You're going to really need to hang in the pocket. And I was hanging in the pocket, dude. And I knew if I knew I was going to get them, you know? So the point of it is though, is we want to handle, I'm going to give you the 3 areas that we handle them proactively. Okay. We don't even want them to come out. So we already went over step number 1. So the first area and the first rebuttal and the first reason would be, they're going to tell you they don't need it. They don't need it. And they're going to say they don't need it. And one of the main reasons why they don't need it is because they already have it through work, which is a common misconception and a huge mistake that people make, is relying on their work coverage. So statistically, group term insurance pays out to people 1% of the time. 1% of all group term policies pay out claims. That's 1 out of every 100 people that have one of these actually get paid out. Why? Because they actually pass away when they're working with that place. Now, I'm going to just go on a little side tangent so you know the stats, because you know that's group term coverage. You know that I can also get individual term coverage on myself. I could go to Primerica and get their fancy 20-year level term policy. And that's an individual policy. That's not through a company. That's something I took out on my own, right? Does anybody know the average payout on individual term? Group term 1, individual term 3. 3% of individual term policies pay out because people pass away only 3% of the time that they have them. Now, there's like, I call it like the 3 little pigs of life insurance. I was going on a little tangent, I'm sorry, but just I'll get back on to where we were, okay? But in the 3 little pigs, they first ran and they built a house, and they built a house made of straw, right? And that one got blown down pretty quickly. And the straw house is your group term coverage that you get through work. That's your straw house, okay? Then they ran and they built a house made out of what? Sticks. Sticks, a little bit better than the straw, not much better though. got blown down pretty easily, right? That's your individual term coverage that you buy on yourself. That pays out 3% of the time. Then there's whole life insurance, permanent.
It only takes a second for an everyday item to become dangerous. Tide Pod's Child Guard Pack helps keep your laundry packs in a safe place and your child safer. To close, twist until it clicks. Tide Pod's Child Guard Packaging.
Come on in, bring it on in. It's a video. Why didn't you tell me?
Dry eye symptoms keep driving you crazy? Inflammation in your eye might have linked.
Life insurance. Well, the little pigs, what they did is they ran and they built a house made of bricks, right? And that house made of bricks never got blown down, right? That's your permanent life insurance. That's your whole life insurance. Because group term pays out 1, individual term pays out 3, whole life insurance, your brick house, that pays out what? 100% of the time. Pretty cool, right? So now back to the conversation though. Remember, there's the first rebuttal that we want to cover is going to be I don't need it because I have coverage through work. So how do we handle that? It's just like we just went over. It's that part where you tell them, here's why we're here. We're here today because your company, your group, your organization, your president, your board of directors, your business manager, your vice president, they contracted through us to make sure that you and all the members have guaranteed permanent life benefits. Because the main problem and concern they're running into is everybody has group term coverage. They have group workplace benefits, and that was the problem. That was the concern. So at the end, they can't tell me, and then obviously I have them, you know, like I went over before, we have them say, so what happens if you ever leave that company? What happens to your benefits? Then they tell you they go away, right? They go away. That was the problem. That was concern, and boom. So at the end of the presentation, you shouldn't really get that rebuttal, you know. And if you do, we just go back to where we already handled it, right? So that's the first one. Now, the second place that we want to handle any rebuttals is going to be, I want to think about it. Now, if you remember during that first paragraph where you explained why we're here, you're also dropping in there some lines and some verbiage when you're telling them, you know, that's right, Joe, your benefits are not permanent. So if you quit, get fired, that was one of the biggest problems and concerns. So while we're out here today, during your enrollment period, during your service period, we're going to make sure we answer any questions that you have, but also this is your enrollment period. If the benefits make sense, and we need to make sure we get your permanent life insurance in place today, and we'll make sure we get all your AI, American Income Life paperwork in place and taken care of while we're out here today during your enrollment period. You know, so if you drop that stuff, that line in the beginning, now later on, you're going to follow up with it right here. Okay. So you go through, you gave them all the no cost benefits. You went over their whole life versus term. Okay. After you go over whole life versus term, then what do? We fill out the needs analysis information. So we're filling that out on the computer. After we fill that information out on the computer, then what? Then when you click next, something pops up. What is it? The mandatory read-off letter. the mandatory read-off letter will pop up on your screen. So this is the easy part. This is where you read the letter. Probably one of the easiest parts of the presentation. Just read the letter. But, you know, some people read the letter better than others. So what can make you a better letter reader? I would say positioning the computer in front of them if it's in person. If you're on video, you're just going to pull it up on the screen. But if it's in person, I turn the computer and I face it to the client and I read with my pen on the screen so they follow along, right? Enunciating and pronunciating your words so that you sound professional, so that you speak clear, you're not mumbling. Your attention to detail and your verbiage, so you sound professional and they can trust you with giving you $270 a month for the rest of their life. This is my part where I can show them how good of a reader I am. You know what I mean? So, so you want to try and sound as good and clean and clear as you possibly can, and polished as much as you could. Okay, this is a chance for you to build credibility in yourself. You don't skip words, you don't paraphrase stuff, you know. So that's something important. Now, after you read that, though, what you're going to do is you're going to take your computer, and it's not going to face them anymore, so they don't see your screen. You're going to turn it away. So now they're looking at the back of your computer, and then you move your computer to the side. So now they're looking, boom, right at you. Okay, so when I'm in the home, I use the computer and I turn it towards them and I stick it right in their face when I want them to see what's on it. But when I don't want them to see what's on it, I turn it away and set it aside. It's like a nonverbal way for me to communicate to them what I want them to be looking at and focusing on, you know? So when it's on the virtual, a little bit easier because you can share the screen. Hey, when I'm sharing the screen, this is what I want you to see. When I'm not sharing the screen, I want you to see me, right? So now after I read the letter to them, I pull it down and now they got to look at me. This is where you're going to want to try to, if you mark this down, if you're virtual, look into the eye of the camera, okay? And if you're not virtual, look into their eyes. And you're going to say, now, Joe and Mary, okay? What did I say? Yes, yeah, so basically, right? So basically, Joe and Mary, as I go through these benefits, if you're nodding your head and you're thinking, wow, these are great benefits, I can see how this can really benefit my family, and it makes sense for you, they're going to ask you to try and qualify today while we're out here during your enrollment period. And on the flip side, as I go through the benefits, you're nodding your head, you're thinking, wow, these are great benefits. I can see why everybody set this up, but it just doesn't fit a need for me and my family. Then they're going to ask you to try to not qualify for the benefits. But either way, they just want us to make a decision in fairness to all the other members waiting to enroll, yes or no. And the best thing about them is they're pretty much a no-brainer. So you're going to know one way or not, as I go through these one way or another, whether it's going to fit a need and make sense for your family. They just didn't want me to go through all the benefits and then, you know, you say something silly like you wanted to think about it. They just want to make sure we get that yes or no while we're out here today. Does that make sense? Is that fair enough for us, Joe, Mary? Either way, you guys just give me a yes or no, not leave me hanging. Either way, yes, no, you guys good on this? All right, perfect, man. I just want to make sure, okay? And then like I said, see how I really hammered that home? I don't want it. Don't give me that bullshit. I'd rather you tell me no. Tell me no. I don't want, I really would, anybody, period. If it's a girl, if it's me and a girl, don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. Don't sit me over here wondering if you like me or not. You know, don't leave me hanging. Just let me know yes or no. The worst thing is leaving me in limbo. I'd rather you just tell me no, right? So if you handle it properly up front right there, later on we have somewhere to go back to, right? And the best way to do it, just stick to the script. Stick to the script. That's the best way to do it. I pretty much did the script right there, didn't I? Pretty much at the end, I added a couple little things like, are you sure yesterday? I just want to make sure, like I may have added a couple things right there, but it was pretty much script. just, you notice how I did it. I made sure I looked into the screen. And then remember, motion creates emotion. And it's a real thing. Like if you're sitting there and you're, hey, Joe, hey, Mary, how are you guys doing today? Oh, that's great. Did you catch any of the football game over the weekend? So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over your benefits. My name is Tom Vina. We work with the International Union of Police Associations through the Child Safety Program. So we're going to make sure we get you your child safety kit today. Here's a little bit of something. If you see, this is a little background on our company. You guys see how I'm not moving? Did something happen to the meeting? Can you tell? Did something happen to our workshop right now?
Yeah, it just got boring.
It just got instantly boring, right? So you got to be just moving around a little bit. Now, I also can be like the flare and alarm guy. You ever see those things with the air shooting through them, and there's like they just sit there and do this the whole time, right? On the side of the road, wacky flare and alarm guy or whatever. Like you could be like that guy and have way too much motion going on in your presentation, and they just got lost in the whole thing. They don't even know what is he trying to make a point right now? His arms just don't stop moving. So you want to be moving to create that emotion, but also when you want to make a point, you can still make that point, you know. So after we go through that, any questions on that? That's two. The first one is need. You know, I don't need it. We handled that. The second one is I want to think about it. We handled that, right? Now the third one is they're gonna well, let's just go to where we didn't even go to where. If you go to your presentation right now, what's still up on your computer screen? The mandatory read-off letter, right? So after we read the mandatory read-off letter, we just set it aside. We don't push nothing, and we give them the paragraph after the so basically. Now you got to remember that after the so basically is that's where we handle the affordability. So I'm still not clicking next on the computer. I'm going to look at them, and here's my transition into this one. They always make me ask. So just like you got to remember, like the transition into the paragraph after the mandatory read-off letter is, so basically. The transition after that into the, we'll call it the hour power or the $5 question. I'll give you two ways to beat I can't afford it right now. But the transition into the I can't afford it proactive rebuttal is they always make me ask. And simple. You just go like this. So Joe, they always make me ask. If you were to set aside $5 out of every $100 that you took home and you set that aside to protect your family, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off your table? That's it. Joe, they always make me ask. If you were to set aside $5 out of every 100 that you took home, and we set that aside to protect our family, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off your table? Then they're going to say no. And then you go, no? Okay. They just didn't want us to show you something that you need, but that you couldn't afford. They just didn't want us to show you something that you need, but you couldn't afford. And he just told me, she just told me that they can afford $5 out of every 100 set aside, and it wouldn't change their life. I like asking that question because I'm typically not showing them that. When I come up with my benefits, it's usually going to be 3 or 4% probably. And then if I do start at 5 and they told me they could afford 5, and then at the end they give me rebuttals like, oh, I don't know if I could afford that. Well, you just told me you could. This is $5 out of every 100. It's $184 a month. That's 5 out of every 100. Oh, I don't know if I could afford that. Well, you said you could do 5. How about this? Move it down. Here's 3 out of every 100. You said you could do 5. This is 3. That's why I like them to agree at 5, because I normally don't even show them 5. I normally only show them 4. And they're like, well, I don't know if I could afford that. You said you could afford 5. I'm only showing you 4. Well, let's drop it down to 3. I know you can afford 3. This is at least 2. Get you in at 2. You said you could afford 5. This is 2 now. I mean, what do you want to do? We've got to protect your family at some rate here. Can't give more money to the cable guy than we give to our family. Can't put money in the Starbucks. So that's why I like that right there. Okay, so I'll repeat that again. So Joe and Mary, they always make me ask, if you were to set aside $5 out of every 100 that you took home, and you set that aside to protect your family, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off of your table? No? Okay, well, they just didn't want us to show you something that you need, that you really need, that you want, but you just couldn't afford. And then from that point, you click next on the computer, you keep it moving.
Now, what if they say yes?
Well, you know, so let's say, what's the question? So they wanted to ask if you could set aside 5 out of 100, if we take food every day, it would drastically change your lifestyle. You gotta say yes. So say, yeah, just say yeah. Just say, yeah, it'll change my lifestyle. Say, okay, well, what's great is they actually have some programs for even $1 or $2. And I just keep it moving. I just keep going on with my presentation. So, okay, that's no problem. They each have some programs for even $1 or $2. So we'll see what we can work out for you. They don't know what they mean by $1 or $2, but you know, it just sounds good. And just keep it moving because I still want to present the benefits to them and get them into the foot in the door at some level. So all you do is say, that's no problem. They have some programs that are even $1 or $2. So we'll see if it makes sense for you. Now, there's another way to handle this proactively. So the other way is called the hour power. So the hour power works like this. So what's the transition into proactively handling the I can't afford a rebuttal? They always make me ask, right? Doesn't change. So now I'm going to say, they always make me ask, Joe and Mary, if we went into work on Monday and the boss pulled everybody aside and said that they were going to give everybody 1 extra hour in our pay this week. That might feel pretty good, but you know, we're probably not going to run home and, you know, book a family vacation to Disneyland and then go shopping for cars at the Cadillac dealership and get a new car, all because I got 1 extra hour. Now, on the flip side, let's say the boss pulled us all aside and said, you know, things are slow. We're going to have to cut everybody back by an hour. So instead of taking home 40, everybody's going to take home 39 this week. Well, that might make a little bit of a difference, but I'm probably not going to run home and cancel the family vacation and then put the car up for sale because I lost an hour either way. Either way. So either way, whether I got an extra hour in our pay or whether we, you know, got cut back by that hour, either way, they figure doesn't make that big of a difference. So they said, let's put that hour towards something that would. So that's the hour power. They always make me ask, Joe, if you got pulled aside, you know, you got an extra hour in your pay, you're not going to buy a new car or go on a big vacation because you got 1 hour, are you? Right? And on the flip side, let's say they cut you back by an hour. So you got 39. You're not going to sell the car or cancel the vacations, are you? Not for 1 hour. Either way, whether you got an extra hour or got cut back by an hour, either way, doesn't make that big of a difference. So what they did, they said, let's put it towards something that would. And then I go into presenting them what they put it into, which is, you know, when you click next on the power, when you click next on the e-app presentation, it's going to pull up the video right now for the funeral and final expenses is what it's going to do. It's going to pull the video up for that. And you just go on with your presentation. So they're like, oh, I don't know if I can afford it. I was, oh, okay, I can understand. I agree. It can be a little expensive these days, tough times. You know, I definitely understand where you're coming from. However, if you could remember back, you know, when we went over, they always make me ask everybody this question where they always make me ask that if you set aside $5 out of every 100, if it would take food off your table, you know, and for you, Joe and Mary, you know, the program that we set up here, I know you said $5 wouldn't make that big of a difference. Well, if you think about this program, what's nice is it's really only $3. So, so that's why they needed to make sure that it was affordable for us, you know. So, Joe, what we're going to do today is we'll make sure that you get your foot in the door with the benefits, but we'll also make sure we keep it comfortable at the same time. And I'll just slide into, you know, closing them back down again. But that's a quick example of how to use the 4 steps. You know, after you do the first one, the other 3 are pretty straightforward. So once again, I don't need it. We handled that at the beginning. I want to think about it. That's the paragraph after, right? And then I can't afford it. It's the $5 question or the hour power, however you want to handle it. Union guys, I typically pull the hour power. You could say they feel they could set aside 5% of the income to protect the other 95. Here's a good line. You say, you know, now Joe, if you could remember, you know, they felt they could set aside 5% of our income to protect the other 95%. For you, that 5% comes out to be $360 a month. However, they were to get you in on the benefits at only $240 a month. Okay. What do I say is so in your situation, they're able to use less than 5% of your income to protect the other 95%. And the reason that you need to set this aside is because if we don't, then there's 2 things that are guaranteed to happen 100% of the time. And you know those 2 guarantees, Joe? There's only 2 in life. There's death and taxes, right? Now, I met a couple people who got around paying taxes before, but I never met anybody who got around dying. So what we'll do today, we'll make sure we get your foot in the door, we'll keep it comfortable for you, and boom. I mean, just keep closing them down. So that's it. There's going to be some other crazy off-the-wall rebuttals you're going to get, but I'll tell you that 95% of your rebuttals will fall under one of these 3 categories. And just remember, it's going to take you probably a good 3, 4, 5 no's to get a yes. And I mean in the home. Like, I don't mean you left the home and you got to a no and you got to go to 5 homes. I mean, in that home, they're going to give you probably 5 no's, and you just got to stay in there. You got to stay in there, stay engaged, don't disengage, stay engaged, and keep searching for a solution. And the key is consultative selling. Put your consultation hat on. Let me give you some best ways to handle rebuttal right here. This will change your game on. If you can do this, which not many people can, because when you're in it, you got to think. You got to really think, okay? You have to, when they say something, you have to hear it another way, okay? So when they go like this, when they go, I don't need this, what you have to hear is you have to hear this. You have to hear, Bobby, I don't understand why I even need this coverage. Can you please explain it to me better? What would you do if they said that to you? You'd be like, oh, geez, okay, well, here, let's think about it this way. maybe I can do a drawing. See, this is a drawing of you, and this is a drawing of your kids. And then if I X you out and you're not here, then that means there's kids with no dad. And then the money was there's the, like, you would think of the person like saying, please explain it to me so I can understand it. You would start to get pretty damn creative. You start coming up with some pretty good analogies, and you definitely wouldn't be like, oh, well, sorry to hear that. I'll leave you guys. I'm gonna, like, the person said, I don't need it, and you're like, okay, all right, fine, you know, well, good luck, you know, give me a call if you ever, you know, need something. But what if they said, I don't understand why I need this. Can you explain it to me better? You wouldn't be like, oh, well, good luck, man. If you figure out why you need to call me. But you didn't hear that, you heard that. So now you're acting differently. But nobody hears that. You really hear what the person's saying. You got to flip it, which is hard to do. It's hard. It's really hard to do. You know, they're really not telling me they don't need it. They're telling me they don't know why they need it, and they're asking me to explain it to them in a better way. Because obviously the way that I explained it to them, they think they don't need it. So how about this? I can't afford it. Tommy, I really need this program. I just can't see how I can afford it. Can you help me understand how I can make this affordable for my family? Tommy, I need this. I don't see how I'm going to be able to afford this. Can you help me understand how this is affordable? Can you put it in some terms for me? And I'm like, well, dude, you go shoot guns every week. How much do you spend in bullets? You know what I'm saying? You go do this. How much you spend in that? You have cable. Why don't you? You know what? Oh, you're right. Boom. That I want to think about it. They're saying, all you got to hear is this. You got to hear like this. Tommy, I just can't see me making a decision today. I don't understand why I need to make a decision today. I don't understand why I need to make a decision today. Can you explain to me better why it's important for me to make a decision today? Because I feel like I could just think about it. So if you flip them, instead of them saying, I need to think about it, flip it to where they're saying, can you explain to me why I need to make the decision today? I can't afford it. Can you help me understand how I can afford this? How I can just get my brain wrapped around $70 a month? Like, I just can't get my head wrapped around it. One of the best rebuttals is $70 a month, Joe? For these benefits? Most people have to pay $70 a week. So to get in on the benefits exclusively at the union discounted benefit rate today, you know, this is the best you're ever going to get. Anytime they give you a rebuttal on the monthly, just hit them with it. Hit them with it. $260 a month, Adolfo? I don't know if I could afford $260 a month. Oh, first of all, I know they could afford it. They didn't say that shit to the fucking cable guy. How come they're not sitting there rebuttaling the cable guy? When they went to the AT&T store and bought iPhones, and the guy goes, oh, it's $300 a month. They didn't rebuttal it. Oh, I don't know if I could afford that. There wasn't a rebuttal that even came out of their mouth. It was no doubt we're getting iPhones. I don't care what it costs. Hoorah, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and everything else. I got to be on it. It's priceless. They didn't think twice about it. So with this, all I would say is $260 a month. I know, but most people to get in on these benefits, they have to pay $260 a week. So for you to get in at $260 a month is amazing. There's a tremendous opportunity for you and your family. And you flip it on them real quick like that. So this is all stuff on just proactively handling the rebuttals as much as we possibly can, but also some reactive stuff that only really works if you handle it proactively, you know? So, and the only way you do it proactively is the script. When you start skipping the script, then you're not guaranteed to have everything being said, you know, the right way too. So, but yeah, that's the main thing for today, guys. You know, tomorrow you guys should pick up on going over the benefits, closing people down, filling out the applications and everything. Make sure that you are filling out 2 e-applications per day right now. By the end of training, you should have like 20 or 30 e-apps that you filled out on your e-app practice thing on your computer, e-app training or whatever. You got to practice that, because when you get out there and you assume the sale, you know, part of assuming the sale is that everybody's doing this. The last 10 people that I met with, they enrolled into these benefits. And as soon as I'm done meeting with you, I got 5 other people that are waiting to enroll into these benefits. I do this all day long. And then you get to the end and you're typing through the e-app like this, like, okay, so it's asking, Joe, it's asking for your first name. Actually, no, last name first. What? So your last name, okay. And it's, what is it? J. Jones, like just normal Jones? Is there 2 O's, 2 N's? No, just normal Jones. Okay. O-N-E-S. S. Wait, not 2 S, 1 S, right? It's not the Jones, you're not the Jonas brothers. Just Joe. Okay, Jones. Okay. And then it's Timothy. M-O-T-Y-H-Y. Okay. Now it says age, date of birth. Do you know how fast you're going to lose a sale? But I thought you were professional. You're a doctor. You don't even know how to use your tools. You got to get in there like a doctor with your tools. And here's the key, guys. If you were doing surgery, if you had to get surgery done on you, right? Do you want the doctor to cut you open and have you spread out on the table for 6 hours or for 6 minutes? What do you want? I want them in and out. The doctor's in there like, hand me the scalpel. No, not the scalpel, the small scalpel. You know what? Give me the scissors. Hold on, let me check this one. A, B. You know what? We need it. Like, you got the doctor and you don't even know what kind of tools he's using and all this kind of stuff. You know, that's how you're going to lose patience. And when I mean lose patience, the client is losing patience in you. And virtue is patience is a virtue. Your clients don't have none. I'm telling you, definitely not with that baloney. It's not even the time factor. I don't got patience with unprofessionalism. You know, they just don't got the patience for that baloney. Don't put your clients through it. Be a professional so you can make a professional paycheck, and you have to do professional preparation, which means you got to put a lot of hours into the small things. Which is, you might think, oh, the application's easy, I'll just wing it. Yeah, right. That might be the reason why you get a bunch of referrals off the client. Who knows why? But at the end of the day, make sure you're doing this throughout. You know, every day that goes by, you got at least two more applications that you practice. Because by the end of this week, you should be pretty fluent with it by the end of this week. You know, I've been doing it for a while. They changed the e-app around a lot, and I still get frustrated with it a little bit. So I know that if I don't stay using it all the time, if you don't use it, you kind of lose it. So you got to stay in there with the e-app. Okay. What else? You know, that helps with rebuttals too. You know, we're talking about rebuttals today. One of the ways to handle rebuttals is to just assume the sale. And you say, so Joe and Mary, what we're going to do today, we're going to make sure we get your foot in the door, but keep it comfortable at the same time. Now, the problem is everybody always wants to try and qualify for the benefits, but unfortunately, not everyone can. So I need to make sure that you can qualify first. Joe, were you ever in Alcoholics Anonymous or AA? Okay, you ever use narcotics, sedatives, or hallucinogens, any drugs not prescribed by a doctor? Okay, you ever had any DUIs, DWIs, or any time in jail, any arrests, anything like that? Okay, perfect. Do you fly a plane? Do you jump out of airplanes? Do you scuba dive, skydive? Do you go skinny dipping? I'm just asking that just as a personal note to see if you got any skinny dipping parts you're gonna invite me to. I'm just kidding on that. You're right, you just keep on sliding through the questionnaire with them, okay? But you're not going to be able to slide through the questionnaire and do all that stuff and get that app filled out quick if you're not, boom, used to it. And you got to have all the questions memorized, you know, all that stuff. So that allows you, when they're giving you these rebuttals, you're allowed, you could just assume the sale and slide into that application, right? And remember, Joe and Mary, the problem is what? Everyone always wants to try and qualify for the benefits, but unfortunately, not everyone can. So I need to make sure you can qualify first. I'm sitting there, we're going back and forth. They're like, I don't know if I want it, I don't know if I could afford it, blah, 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 blah. You want to know what? How about this, guys? How about this? Here's the problem. Because everybody always wants these benefits, but not everybody can qualify. I don't even know if you can qualify yet. So we need to make sure you can even qualify for these benefits, right? And what we'll do, we'll make sure we get your foot in the door and keep it comfortable, but let's make sure you can even qualify first. Boom, and I go into the application. Now, they were ready to get off. Now they're on giving me all the information. If they give you all their information, chances of closing them down go through the roof. They gave me all the height, weight, doctor's information, all the prescriptions. We just filled the whole. What do you think? They're not dumb. They know you're filling out the application. You fill out the whole application, you assume the sale. You got it? They know if they give you all the information, you fill out the whole application. They should be buying from you. They know what's going on. They're not dumb. They're filling out the application. You're assuming they know what's going on. Now you can at least get their foot in the door somewhere with these benefits. You got all their information. The wife will probably even go to the husband. Like he's like, you know what? I just want to think about it. She's going to go, honey, we just filled all the information out. Let's get it. Plus, guess what? Do you think the wife wants her husband to get the life insurance? Before you came over, she was afraid if he didn't wake up tomorrow, what the hell is going to happen? Now you're there. You're like Superman. You're the family. You're the savior of the family. You're the knight in shining armor. You saved the whole family from this terrible fear that she had. You put all her fears at ease today, filled out the whole application, and her husband goes like this. Let's just think about it, honey. She's like, we were this close. Like, I can almost taste it. Like I'm right there, honey. No, we're getting it. We're right there. I don't want to go back through this. Wait, so what you're telling me, honey, you want to call another life insurance guy, get him to come back 3 months later, fill the whole application process out again? I don't want to go through this shit again. Right? I don't. The reason I don't got my brand new Escalade is because I don't feel like going down there and dealing with all the bullshit of buying an Escalade. It's bullshit. I called the guy. I said, listen, if we can handle this over the phone, let's handle it over the phone. I want to come down there. I want to give you my old Escalade. I want to pick up the new Escalade. And I don't want to spend more than an hour in your place. This can't take me 6 hours. I don't have the time for this. So that's why I still don't got the new Escalade, because I don't want to deal with the paperwork of dealing with it. You know what I mean? I was thinking maybe honestly, guys, I was going to go year-to-year lease and get a new car every single year. I don't have time for it. I don't want to fill out a new lease every year. That's a bunch of baloney. Same thing with life insurance. You think I want to go get life insurance again? I never want to do that shit again. I want to do it one time and that's it. So when you fill these applications out for the people, they pretty much feel like they own it. She feels like she got it. And now if she doesn't go through with it, it's like she had it and then lost it. On top of that, they did all that work and now they don't want to go do that all again. So there's a power in filling out them applications and assuming the sale. Mentally, they start owning it. Mentally, she's already feeling like she got it, you know? So that's important. So practice, you know, well, you're not going to be in, we're doing a workshop on Friday on assuming the sale at 10 a.m., but you guys will be in training still on that one, but it'll be recorded and stuff. But that's all I really had for today, guys. I wanted to end us early. I don't know how much early we are. I think we're good, you know, maybe hour and a half. Oh yeah, good. Wow, we got through this quick today, guys. Really quick, really, really quick. Well, good thing you got time to practice it now. So those 3 things, if you want to practice, I would practice the part at the beginning where it's why we are here. Practice why we are here. The second part, practice the paragraph after the mandatory read-off letter. And then the third part is practice the they always make me ask. They always make me ask. If you were set aside 5 out of every 100, boom. Those would be 3 things to practice proactively how to handle. Cool? All right, guys. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
For a rebuttal, right? Would you say, how would you react to a question that you can't answer? Like I had one with somebody had life insurance, but with the government. Well, how would I try to explain something since I didn't know the answer to it?
Yeah, well, you should know the answer. The best way is to know the answer to that one. I mean, because if somebody has life insurance with the government, that's like having life insurance through a company. All that is workplace coverage.
So it's still pretty much term, even though
It's group term coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would answer that. I would educate them. You know, remember, questions are rebuttals are not rebuttals, they're questions. That's kind of, remember how I said that, guys? Remember how I said that? I'll just repeat that again. They're really not rebuttals, they're questions, you know? They're questions. And a question is an opportunity for you to educate. It's an opportunity for you to show your skill level, to show why you're the boss. It's an opportunity, you know, to show why you got a job, right? Just like, I don't know, let's say in leadership, you know, in leadership, when something goes wrong or whatever, that's your opportunity to show your value in being a leader. You know, that's why we pay him all that money to be the starting quarterback. You know, not when the things are going well. He scored 48 points last week. This week, second half, we're down 17 points. He came back. That's why. So like in bad situations or in rebuttal, it's just you can show your value to the people, to the clients. So yeah, but just a question. The guy had work coverage. He worked somewhere. Where'd he work? The government, right? And the government gave him benefits. That's just the same thing as working at Walmart and Walmart giving him benefits. It's workplace benefits. So I would tell him that's the reason why we're here. But if I don't know the answer truly, then I'm not going to make it up. The best thing that you can do is admit it. That's a great question. And to be honest with you, I don't know the answer 100%. And I do not want to give you the wrong information, but I can contact my manager and I will get you the answer. I remember watching the movie Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think the guy's name's Kevin Gardner, what the movie's about. The guy's name's, I think it's Kevin Gardner, pretty sure. And what's really cool is that we hired Kevin Gardner to come speak at our company's convention in San Francisco when I was on stage, #1 with the company. Yep. Because the movie was filmed in San Francisco. So cool. The company's convention was in San Francisco. We had him speak to us. He signed the book and everything. I got it in there. It was great. But I love that movie. And in the movie, he's getting interviewed. And the guy, he showed up to the interview in a mess, first of all. He had like paint all over his shirt, right? And he had a tank top on, right? So the guy who's interviewing, he goes, Kevin, or whatever the guy's name was. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't think it was Kevin now that I think about it, but let's say it was. He says, you know, Kevin, what would you say to me if I hired a guy with no shirt on? Because the guy came in with no shirt, just a tank top, right? And he looked at him, he goes, I'd say he must have had a really nice pair of pants on. right? And the guys laugh, and for a second they all laugh, and he goes, let me just tell you something about me. I'm the type of guy that if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you that. But I'm going to do everything that I can to get you that answer. You know, and I just remember that in the interview, right? So, but in leadership, if you ask me a question right now and I didn't know the answer, I'm not going to sit here and try and give you an answer to sound like I know what I'm talking about for everybody on this call, right? I would rather tell you, want to know what? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, okay? And I'd rather not give you the wrong information, but I'm going to get you the right answer, all right? And I'll have that to you by tomorrow for sure. I'll have that to you later today, you know? That's going to make me look more trustworthy than before. See, you don't know the answer, okay? And they ask you something and you're like this, you're like, oh no, if I don't know the answer, they're not going to trust me. If I don't know the answer, they're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about, and they're not going to want to do business with me. They're not going to trust me. They're not going to want to follow me, right? But by making shit up and just trying, that makes you sound worse. That I tell the client, you know what, that's a great answer. I don't know the answer. I'm going to find it for you. That makes you want to trust me more. Like, wow, Tommy, at least if he knows the answer, and if he doesn't know the answer, he's at least not man enough to tell me and figure it out. So with your clients, don't try, if you don't know the answer, tell them you don't know the answer. It's cool. It actually makes you look good. People think it makes you look bad. Makes you look good, makes you look awesome. And in leadership, if your team asks you questions and you don't know the answer, that's all right. If you don't know the answer, you're not going to be, oh, I don't want to be on Tommy's team anymore. I asked him something. He didn't know the answer to it. No, you're going to get it. So just keep that in mind. Make sense? Cool. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right.
Okay, with your permission, can we tell them, like, if they say, oh, we can't get it right now, maybe some other time, can we tell them, oh, if we do come back, the rate will go up because due to your age? Can we say that?
I wouldn't even really, I would just tell them that we can't, and say that, you know, I mean, if you want to educate clients, you can educate them. I've done that before. It just depends on the situation, and you don't know, guarantee it will, you know. So I you know, like for instance, I met with a guy in here last time. Remember I told you I went 10 for 10? Here's one of my sales when I went 10 for 10. The guy told me that he wanted to get it done. He said, but I'm going to get it done after the new year, right? I said, okay. I said, when's your birthday? His birthday was in December, right? So that's when I used as an opportunity to educate this guy, okay? And what I educated him on is I showed him that, you know, right now it's $72 a month. If you wait until you're after the new year, you're going to be 1 year older. It's going to cost you like $77 a month. So it's going to cost you $5 more a month. Joe, it's not that big of a deal, $5 a month. But if you do $5 a month times 12 months, that's $60 a year, right? And if you're 50 and you have this program till you're 80, that means you're going to have this program for how many years? 30 years, right? So what's that, $1,800? So I know sometimes it feels like by waiting, you're going to save the money by not enrolling today. But by waiting, it's actually going to cost you a lot more than you're really going to save. And if you were my dad, you know, this would be something I would be telling my dad. This is just something I would care to tell you. I just wouldn't want you to make an $1,800 costly decision for your family if we could just get this taken care of today while I'm out here working with you. You guys see that? Yeah, it's called thinking on your toes. It's called being a closer. It's called staying engaged. It's called having belief in what you're doing and knowing that you're not doing something to them, you're doing something for them. And any dollar given to me is better than anything they give anybody else. I'm going to make their money go a lot further than they'll ever make it go. I don't feel bad giving any of their money they give to me is going to go way better than they give to, who else they giving their money to, huh? Please think about where all that money is going. They're giving money to all kind of, they're giving money to a hot dog place called Portillo's. There's a place in Chicago called Portillo's. They're giving money to hot dogs, you know? I don't feel bad if they give me the money. I already know it's going better over here than anything that they can do with it. Here's the goal. Here's the rule. You want to know what the rule? Here's what they say, Joe. You know what they say about life? You know what they say the rule is? They go like this. It goes like this. It goes first, life insurance. And then everything and anything else. First, you get life insurance, then anything else. You have to do something unselfish first. The most unselfish thing you can do is get life insurance. Think about that. You're going to spend all kind of money your entire life, and then when you pass away, you're not even going to be here to see anybody get any of it or enjoy it. That is the most unselfish thing anybody can do, is get life insurance. But after you do that one unselfish act, remember, life insurance what? First, then what? Anything else. You can do whatever you want. Go selfish the rest of the way. Go selfish. Do one thing unselfishly, $100, $300. The other $9 million you make for the rest of your life, do you. YOLO. Live it up. YOLO. Whatever you want to call that. So anyways, that's some stuff for today. Any other questions? If not, we'll break. You guys got out early today, but don't lose the time. Use it. Rehearse. Go over what we went over. Maybe go over your notes and stuff like that. But you guys have done a great job so far in training. You are the first training class of the year for us. And we also, this is our first big week of the year. You guys saw it last week, guys. We had a great week. We did 64,000. This week we're turning up to 70. And before you guys know it, we're going to be bringing home $100,000 in a week. Looking by the end of the first quarter. Halftime of the year, we're looking to be in 150. By the end of the year, we want to be at 200,000. So get geared up, guys. Get ready to go. You know, this is where we're going. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. You already know. You're already seeing some of the stuff right now, but it'll be worth it. I promise it's not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. And what happens over time, guys, is you think like 3 years, this is going to get any easier for you?
Yeah.
No, this doesn't get any easier at all. So let's say you decided to lift weights and Adolfo wants to lift 250 pounds, right? 250 pounds weighs a certain amount today, right? And it requires a certain amount of energy and effort for you to get it up. And it can be pretty hard for you to lift up to, right? 3 years from now, guess how hard it's going to be to lift 250 pounds? Just as hard as it was today. 250 pounds don't change, right? What's the difference in Adolfo though? 3 years from now, Adolfo is going to be stronger. This deal doesn't get easier, we get stronger. The weight doesn't get lighter, we get stronger. This deal doesn't get easier, we get better. That's how it works. Everybody's waiting for shit to get easier. It's not going to get any easier. We got to get better. And that's through daily development, not just in this business. If all you're doing is learning scripts and stuff, this is a personal business. So we still got to develop our mind on a whole nother level. We got to be developing our spirit on a whole nother level. You know, and then remember in the fourth quarter, when everybody's hunched over and they're tired and they're getting cramps and they can't even breathe, we're just going to be breaking stride because we're going to be physically fit as well. We got to be physically fit. This isn't, you're going to be working in some accounting office and your boss is some old slouched over big fat guy with a beer gut that goes golfing every day and drinks scotch every night. That's not who I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm making sure that I'm physically fit. I haven't been sick in over a year, knock on wood. Well over a year. Well over a year. You know, I'm so mindful of health and stuff. So why I can't afford to be sick. Who can afford to be sick anymore? Healthcare costs, then you miss a day at work, all that stuff. So I'd rather take the expenses of staying healthy than bear the cost of getting sick. I'll proactively spend the money to stay healthy. I'll proactively take the time to work out and do all that stuff than to deal with the cost of being sick, you know? So anyways, those are the things that are gonna help you long-term in this business. You'll hear it all the time, mind, body, spirit, but it's a real thing, you know? So other than that, appreciate you guys' time today. Need anything, just let us know, let your management team know we're here for you to help you and get you guys where you want to go. So look forward to seeing you guys when you get out there, you know, start posting your own, you know, pictures in the group me and everything. So, all right, guys, have a good one today.
Thank you.